It's your boy, and we're back with another Master Duel video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today we're going to be talking about engines that you could slap in your deck to hopefully make it a little bit spicier. Some of these engines are non-deck specific. By that I mean that you can slap this engine into any deck and it'll work. Other engines might need a little bit more synergy for your deck, but overall these engines could help really spice up some decks that you have and really give you something else to play. Engines are, in my opinion, a great investment. They can really help push a deck that might be a little bit lower powered and push it a little bit higher and make it do a little bit more. Whether that's just making a stronger end board, filling in where your deck is weaker, or just making it be able to play through more interruptions, whether that's hand traps when going first or when breaking boards trying to push through all your opponent's interruptions. So right here I've got a small list of all the engines that I personally have. I should have most of them for the most part. Any engines that I could think of. I'm sure there's more that you could add. But these, in my opinion, are the most relevant engines. Some a little bit less relevant, but still noteworthy, that you could use in a deck of yours to possibly take it to the next level. Some of them are going to be familiar, and some of them you may not have seen before. But we're going to start with the most familiar engine here, and that's Fiendsmith. Fiendsmith is a great engine that you can slap in any deck. Using any two monsters, you can get your Fiendsmith engine online. How would you do something like that? Well, this is all pretty much dependent on Moon of the Closed Heaven. With Moon of the Closed Heaven, which uses any two effect monsters, you can go into your full Fiendsmith engine. How does that work? Well, going into Moon of the Closed Heaven will allow you to immediately jump into the Link 1 Fiendsmith Requiem, which will then allow you to summon Fiendsmith Lacrima, which will dump your Fiendsmith Engraver, and Engraver will then be able to revive itself by sending Moon of the Closed Heaven back into your extra deck, and then you'll have two monsters on board, two Fiend monsters on board, to summon Fiendsmith Sequence. And then you can go off from there, summon possibly Fiendsmith Desiree or Fiendsmith Lacrima to revive another Fiendsmith out of the graveyard, or any light fiend, I believe. It doesn't have to be Fiendsmith. And then maybe you can use your Sequence, your Fiendsmith Lacrima, and the other monster that you revived to make like an Appaloosa, for example, to help you play through something like Nibiru. Overall, this deck has a lot of versatility. It's very flexible. It does require a bit of the main deck and the extra deck to play, but a lot of the main deck that you take up, you can just use to play the Fiendsmith engine anyway. Very, very strong engine. There is a reason why it's seen a lot these days, why you see it on a lot of decks. It's very, very good. Very, very good. Highly recommend Fiendsmith if you don't have it already. Another good engine that you might see a lot these days, and we're going to try and go through some of the most common and then go into some of the more uncommon, is the Kashtira engine. Kashtiras by themselves are very strong. Kashtira Fenrir, very strong card. When your opponent activates a monster effect, I believe on the field, we can check. Maybe it's just in general. Let's see. When this card declares an attack, or if your opponent activates a monster effect, except during the damage step. So it doesn't even have to be on the field. They can just activate like a hand trap, and then you can activate this in response. You can target one face-up card your opponent controls, banish it face down. Very, very strong card. Very, very strong card. Kashtira Fenrir is a good card to just have and play in your deck as just another interruption to play onto your board. It'll help break boards as well. You can have two copies of it through the field spell, Pressured Planet Wraithsoth. to search out the one of Kashtira Fenrir. Or you can do what most people do, which is play Kashtira Unicorn to search out Kashtira Birth to revive it. And you can play your 2 unicorns instead of your 1 Fenrir, and then you could play the Wraithsoth to up that to 3. And then you're taking up 4 main deck spots, including your Birth. And you'll be able to extend with Unicorn. Unicorn's very strong in the fact that, similar to Fenrir, if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can then banish a card from your choosing from your opponent's extra deck face down. You get to just pick up their extra deck, look through it, and then banish face down what you believe is going to be the most threatening. A lot of times that's going to be something like a AA Zeus, or an access code, or a one of in their combo line that would be pretty crucial for them to have in order to use a specific combo, like maybe Fiendsmith Requiem, in order to play their Fiendsmith engine. Maybe their Fiendsmith sequence. Kashtira Unicorn, a very, very good choice. It comes up a lot. It can help bait out hand traps because you never know. You place down Kashtira Unicorn, you don't know if your opponent's playing actual Kashtiras or you're using as just an extender. Hard for your opponent to decide if this is the very first card that comes down and you haven't revealed what deck you're playing yet. Would highly recommend playing a Kashtira engine if this is what does well for the deck that you're thinking of playing. The next one we're going to be looking at is another popular one, Bystials. Bystials are a fantastic engine to be playing in your deck. It is a completely main deck reliant engine. You can use them in a lot of different ways. You can use them as extenders. You can use them as ways to disrupt your opponent. You can use them as an entire engine in themselves in the main deck to kind of add some versatility to your deck, a little bit of recursion, put some grind game into your deck. And how do these things work? Well, Bystials, when your opponent controls a monster, you can banish a light or dark monster, and it's a quick effect. It isn't... Let me restart that. Your opponent doesn't have to have a monster in order to actually use the banishing effect, but it becomes a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. So this is how it would become like a hand trap. When you're going second, your opponent controls a monster, then you can actually target a light or dark monster in their graveyard and banish it in order to summon this out. Very strong cards. Basically a DD Crow, if you're not familiar with DD Crow, it's essentially a hand trap that will banish any card from your opponent's graveyard. And it doesn't just have to be your opponent's graveyard. You can banish from your graveyard as well, so this can come in handy if you're playing like Thunder Dragons, for example. You can banish your own Thunder Dragon from the graveyard, get its effect, and plus off of the body and whatever Thunder Dragon card that you're activating. So there's a lot of versatility with Bystials, and one of the reasons why you're not really seeing it a whole lot in this format currently is because Malices don't really care about being banished. They kind of want to be banished. So right now Bystials aren't very popular, but we could easily see Bystials in the near future. Now, where could Bystials become more of an engine? Well, Bystial Lubellion is a card that you can summon by tributing one of your Bystial monsters, and then using Bystial Lubellion's effect on field to search out something like Branded Regained. So every time you banish a card, you get to recycle it and draw a card. Very strong if your opponent, I believe, just summons a monster, right? Once per turn, if your opponent normal or special summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can target one Bystial monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So that's where the recursion comes in. You're getting draw power, you're putting stuff back into your deck that you already banished, and you're getting just free Bystials out of the graveyard that you already summoned, and putting presence on the board. It becomes a problem for your opponent very quickly. Another card amongst the Bystials that can help pose a threat is Bystial Druis Worm, where if it leaves the field, you can then send a special summon monster your opponent controls to the graveyard. So putting this guy out can easily kind of hinder your opponent's plans. And then you can combo it with Bystial Baldrake, where Baldrake, while on the field, if your opponent special summons a Ritual Fusion, Synchro Exceeds, or Link monster, you contribute something like Bystial Druid's Worm, banish it or banish any card, then target one of those special summon monsters, banish it. So you can target your opponent's special summon monster, banish it, and then you, since Druid's Worm got sent to the graveyard, you can then send another special summon monster your opponent controls to the graveyard. Very strong, really awesome combo. These cards are great. They're big dragons that do a lot of awesome things. They can help you extend. Really awesome. There's a reason why you see them somewhat frequently. Now, another engine that likes to come up, and this is where we're going to start getting into, well, actually, we got one more that's a bit more common, is the Primite engine. Primite engines are mostly famous for Blue Eyes, really pushing it to the next level, but Primite engine is very solid on its own. Famously used in a Fiendsmith Primite control deck, Primites just need any normal monster to special summon from your hand or deck, or graveyard, hand, deck, or graveyard, in defense position, and using your Primite Dragon Ether Barrel, you can just recur Primate Drill Beam over and over and over again. And Drill Beam is such a strong card. It's a target any face-up card on the field, negate it and banish it. Very strong effect. And with Ether Barrel being on the field, you can then bring Drill Beam from the graveyard and set it back onto the field. The way you're getting Ether Barrel back onto the field is during the start of your turn. If you control a normal monster or it's in your graveyard, you can just bring Ether Barrel from the graveyard back into your hand so you can just play it again. Very awesome. Very strong engine here. I would highly recommend it if you're playing something like Blue Eyes. You could play in Dark Magician. Any deck that uses normal monsters, this deck just feels right at home in. Like Suship, for example. Not very many normal monster decks, though. But you don't have to necessarily be playing a normal monster deck. You can kind of just slap it in any deck and then find a normal monster that works with the deck that you're playing. Or maybe it doesn't work and you just want to use Lordly Load and Drill Beam and just use the Primite engine anyway. Very awesome engine, and I highly recommend picking it up if you haven't already. It can help you outgrind your opponent very easily. The next one that we're going to be talking about, not as popular these days, because it's seen some hits. The deck that it was featured in, Snake Eye, has kind of fallen off the map a little bit, but still one of my favorite engines, especially as of recently, is the Millennium engine. The Millennium engine is very good for getting big guys out onto the field, essentially for free, for one card, essentially. You can get two guys out very easily. You'll get out Sangan Jin, and then you'll get out Millennium Golem, and you'll have two bodies right there. And you can use that to maybe go into your Fiendsmith engine, or help you extend, whatever. As well, it can help you going second if you play the Wedju Temple. Wedju Temple will allow you to put your... So say you're playing 3 Sangan Jin, the 1 Golem, and a Wedju Temple. You play the Sangan Jin, you get to the search with Golem. Golem will get you your Wedju Temple, and then Wedju Temple will put a monster from your hand in the spell and trap zone, and a second Sangan Jin in your spell and trap zone. Then you can use that to get a card like Snake Eye Doom Dragon out onto the field for free. You send those monsters from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard to summon this out for free, and then Snake Eye Doom Dragon can put or activate to target one of your opponent's monsters to put it into the spell and trap zone. Really great for going second, and it's a third body on the field to help you extend even further. It's also 3k attack. Really solid engine. The only really problem with this is that you're paying 2,000 life points every time you attempt to special summon one of the Millennium monsters. So you're going to be paying 4,000 life points just to get them both out. But a lot of times that is very negligible. A lot of times that is what you need to be able to win the game, especially getting a Doom Dragon activation out there. Highly recommend the Sangenjin or the Millennium cards to extend your deck. Put a couple of extenders in your deck for free. They work really well and very easy to use. The next engine that we're going to be looking at is going to be the Horus engine. The Horus engine, very solid engine. I really like the Horus engine a lot. They all revolve around King Sarcophagus, and with King Sarcophagus onto the field, you can revive any Horus monster once per turn for free from your graveyard. How are you getting him into the graveyard? Well, you're using Sarcophagus to discard a card out of your card to send one of them into the graveyard. Your Imseti will discard a card plus itself to search out King Sarcophagus, and you'll already have Imseti into the graveyard with that, so you just need to activate it again to send another guy, and then so on and so forth. This engine's really, really strong in the fact that you can put a ton of really big-bodied guys out there to really deal with what your opponent already has. They all have their own effects, like Imseti has. If another card you control leaves the field by opponent's card effect while this card is in your monster zone, you can send one card on the field to the graveyard. So they're kind of disruption in the fact that they protect each other, like Happy. If another card you control leaves the field by opponent's card effect while this card is in your monster zone, you can target two cards that are banished and or in the graveyards, either add both to the hand or shuffle both into the deck. So these effects can become pretty dang strong. They can also overwhelm your opponent easily, and one of my favorite aspects of the Horus engine is that to summon the Horus monsters out of the graveyard, you are not activating any effects. You just lay them onto the field directly from the graveyard, so there's nothing really for your opponent to respond to. They can't chain a Max C to their summon. They just kind of have to predict that you're going to do them by seeing the King Sarcophagus coming out and then activate a Max C, and then you decide whether or not you want to do it. They can't use some sort of effect to negate a monster effect or whatever to negate them from coming out onto the board. It's great for playing around specific disruptions, like something like Appaloosa. Appaloosa can do nothing to stop these guys from coming out. It's great. The only real downside to King Sarcophagus is the fact that you are having to, or the Horus engine, is that you are having to discard cards out of your hand. So it is very cost and effective in the card economy if the King Sarcophagus does not work out. If they find a way to destroy it, you can't, if you don't have this card on the field, you cannot summon your Horus monsters out at all. Of course, you can have Walls of the Imperial Tomb, which basically acts as King Sarcophagus on the field, so this is another way to have something out. But at the end of the day, if they have some way to destroy your face-up cards, especially a quick effect of some kind, it can become a bit of an issue to keep or get your guys out onto the field in the first place. But we're going to go ahead and move on to another engine. One of my next favorite engines is the Runick engine. The Runick engine is a very awesome engine. It goes into these spell cards, these quick play spell cards right here to the right in this list. They all have the same effect plus an additional effect that is unique to each card. That same effect, though, is you get to special summon one Runick monster from your extra deck for free into the extra monster zone specifically, though. So you gotta make sure you can't have any link monsters, anything covering that spot first. And you'll normally summon Hugin the Runick Wings, and Hugin will make you discard a card out of your hand to search out Runick Fountain. And then this will help you in the grind game. So now whenever you activate a Runick spell, quick play spell card, it will then ask if you want to shuffle, and this is only once per turn though, up to 3 Runick spell cards from your graveyard into your deck, and then you draw the equivalent of how many you shuffled in there. So if you shuffled in 2, you would be drawing 2. If you shuffled in 3, you'd be drawing 3. Very awesome engine. Can help you extend, can help you disrupt your opponent, and the fact that Runick Flashing Fire destroys a special summon monster, Destruction destroys a spell on trap, Freezing Curses negates an effect monster on the field. It's like infinite impermanence. Your Runick Slumber helps protect a monster from destruction effects. Really, really cool. Your Runick Fountain allows you to play them from the hand like hand traps if it's on the field, so your opponent can't necessarily know how many you have in your hand. Very awesome engine. Helps you in the grind game, helps you outgrind your opponent in general, keeps up card advantage, it's disruption, all that extension. It's great. Awesome. I highly recommend it. The only real negative to this is it does ask for a lot of the main deck to play, and the fact that you lose your battle phase or your next battle phase every time you activate a Runick spell card. So there are a lot of times where you're just grinding out your opponent because, well, you can't go and finish them off. So you kind of just have to whittle your opponent down to no resources, make sure they can't do anything, and then kind of wait it out until you have another battle phase available, and then try to kill your opponent. Overall, though, Runick engine is very strong. Highly recommend it. Great investment. It can really take your deck to the next level if it works for your deck. Another positive, what can also seem like a negative though, is that, and this works with the Horus engine as well, you have to discard a card out of your hand. So if your deck plays a lot of cards that would like to be in the graveyard, well, you could use this engine to help get them into the graveyard if you draw them. If your deck wants to try and send them from the deck to the graveyard, but you don't have really an efficient way to get them out of the hand, this could be an engine, or the Horus engine could be an engine to help get those cards out of your hand and into the graveyard to get them online. Really awesome engine, and the Horus and Runick engines are great for those scenarios specifically. Now we're going to talk about Nightmare Throne and the Yubel engine. The Yubel engine's really cool because it basically gives you a way to negate Nibiru easily for free. You get to this field spell, Nightmare Throne, and then you can summon your Phantom of Yubel for free from your extra deck by using a Yubel monster and a Fiend monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. So typically you'll use like Spirit of Yubel and maybe like Samsara ID Lotus. Or maybe you just play 2 Spirit of Yubels, doesn't really matter, right? 2 Spirit of Yubels will fulfill the criteria. Phantom Yubel, really cool card, really strong, can help negate a Nibiru. If your deck's weak to Nibiru, doesn't have like an N archetype or N engine way of playing around it or dealing with it very efficiently, if your deck kind of just dies to Nibiru, the Nightmare Throne engine could be something you could consider to play in your deck to help you play through it. The only unfortunate thing here is that you do have to play 2 bricks in your deck, and the card is semi-limited. That kind of sucks. So it's not as consistent as it once was. It's why you don't really see it quite as often anymore, but it could still be a viable option for you. And speaking of an engine that could help you play through Nibiru is Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. It could, when your opponent's monster activates its effect, quick effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card. The activated effect becomes both players draw 1 card. And how would you normally get through this, or get this on board? Is you'll normally play something like Speedroid Terratop. Speedroid Terratop is a really simple engine, just a 4-card main deck engine where you want to draw a Speedroid Terratop. It special summons itself out for free. Searches out Take Tomborg. It'll special summon itself out while you have Terratop out. You have 2 level 3s. You can make Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, which only needs 2 level 3 plus monsters. And you have an out to Nibiru. The only real negative to this is that you make your opponent draw a card. You were drawing a card too, but your opponent could draw another hand trap, and that could go really south for you. So maybe that's not necessarily what you want to use to play through your Nibiru, but you've got options now. You've got Nightmare Throne, and you've got Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. Now, the Gossip Shadow engine with Speedroid Terratop is significantly cheaper than the Nightmare Throne engine. You know, you need at least 3 URs to play in your deck in order to play the Nightmare Throne engine instead of the Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, which is 3 super rares and 2 rares. So it's up to you what engine that you want to play in order to play around Nibiru if your deck is really weak to a card like that. Now the next engine that we're going to be talking about is we're going to group up these 3 together: Red Eyes Fusion, Fusion Destiny, and Branded Fusion. These 3 fusion cards are all tied together by Verte Anaconda. Verte Anaconda is what you need just 2 effect monsters out. So you could use one of these other engines like Millennium, you could use the Kashtira engine, you could use a Bystial engine to help facilitate this. Get Verte Anaconda out, and then just activate its effect, sending one of these 3 fusion spells to get out another boss monster essentially for free. Now, what do these boss monsters tend to look like? Well, Branded Fusion will get out Mirror Jade. We'll look at Mirror Jade if we can, if it will show us. Alright, let's just find Albaz. Here we go. Mirror Jade requires you to play some more Albaz fusion monsters in your extra deck in order to use its quick effect, which is targeting or non-targeting a monster on the field and banishing it. When it leaves the field at the end of the turn, it will wipe your opponent's board. A very strong fusion monster, very, very strong. So you could use that. The way you'd be doing it is you would just send Fallen of Albaz and use Verte Anaconda on the field to summon your Mirror Jade, because you'll notice it just needs Fallen of Albaz plus 1 Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster, and Verte Anaconda will be that Link monster for you. You can also use Fusion Destiny to summon Destiny Phoenix Enforcer, and let's go ahead and look at that. Here we go. Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer is an awesome card where you have to quick effect, or you don't have to, but it can quick effect. You can destroy both 1 card you control and 1 card on the field. So you can destroy one of your opponent's cards, and it'll typically destroy itself. You don't have to destroy Phoenix Enforcer, but it's typically the best option in a general scenario. And then, if it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can activate this effect, special summon 1 Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard during the standby phase of the next turn. So you destroy itself on your opponent's turn, and on your standby phase, you can just choose to revive it again. And it just keeps coming back over and over and over again, keeps destroying cards. It's a 2500 stat line. Your opponent can't just simply run over it. Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer is a great option. Definitely the 2 strongest options here are the Mirror Jade or the Phoenix Enforcer, but you could get a little bit more classic with the Red Eyes Fusion. And Red Eyes Fusion is a great option because then you can summon your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon by playing Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon in your main deck, along with your Red Eyes Fusion. Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is one of the strongest boss monsters, but is not quite as great anymore due to one negative about it. And we'll get into that negative in a second, but what are the positives? It cannot be destroyed by card effects. Neither player can target this card with card effects. During the main phase, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack, and you can use it depending on the number of normal monsters used as fusion material for this card. So if you use Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon, 2 normal monsters, it can do this 2 times a turn. So it's great going first, it's great going second. Why is it great going first? Well, once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can discard 1 card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And if you do destroy that card, it permanently gains 1000 attack, so it just keeps getting stronger and stronger. It's an Omni-Negate. It's hard to remove. It's great for going second and can crack boards. What is the negative here? Well, the negative is that you have to cough up card economy, cards out of your hand, every time you wanted to have an interruption. And in today's Yu-Gi-Oh!, you kind of want to be able to use every card in your hand. You really typically don't want to have to save a card and use it for another interruption if that card could help you extend, be a hand trap, or something like that, ideally. And that's really the main reason. It still doesn't take away from the fact that this is an excellent boss monster. Don't let it dissuade you from playing it if you want to play it. It is an awesome looking boss monster. Look at that. He's an awesome looking boss monster. He can get big as heck. He's great. An awesome tech to play in your deck if you just want to summon 2 guys out, make Verte Anaconda, and summon a free boss monster. These 3 cards, Red Eyes Fusion, Fusion Destiny, Branded Fusion, are great options to play in a Verte package in your deck. So let's go ahead and move on to another engine. Another engine that you can play that has been recently unlimited, brought back to 3, is the Brilliant Fusion engine. Similar to the Millennium engine, similar to the Bystial engine and the Kashtira engine, Brilliant Fusion is a great way to extend in your deck. How does it do that? Well, you're going to use Brilliant Fusion to, similar to Branded Fusion, send some cards from your deck to the graveyard in order to summon a fusion monster. You're going to summon Gem-Knight Seraphonite. Gem-Knight Seraphonite will be a body on the board to help you play as well, extend with, Link Climb or whatever. It also gives you another normal summon for that turn. That's fantastic. The way to summon it is you need to send a Gem-Knight monster and a Light monster specifically from your deck. You can't draw those cards. So this is where Gem-Knight Garnet got its name, is if you got Gem-Knight Garnet in your hand while you're playing Brilliant Fusion, and if you're not playing more than 1 Garnet, well, I mean, you just can't activate Brilliant Fusion. Very unfortunate. But one of the most famous cards to pair with it, the Light monster, is Trick Clown. Trick Clown would be the Light monster that you would send, and it will revive itself automatically when it's sent to the graveyard, so now you have 2 bodies on the board for the price of 1 Brilliant Fusion. Really awesome. What could you do with those 2 cards? Well, you could do just about anything with them. You could use a Fiendsmith line. You could go into what I'm going to be talking about next, a Nightmare Mermaid line. Very awesome engine. I've yet to put it to use in any decks of mine, but I'm very excited to get to try it. It's a great extension for your deck if you just need generic extension to push your deck a little bit further. Another way to get some extension onto your board is the Sky Striker engine. If your deck plays a lot of spell cards, boy, is this a great engine for you. Because if you have 3 or more spells in your graveyard, you can draw an additional card whenever you activate Engage. Fantastic. What are you going to be typically doing generically with your Sky Striker Engage? You're going to be playing 3 of these Engages, and then you're going to be searching for your Hornet drones. And then your Hornet drones, you're going to activate to special summon your Sky Striker Ace Kagari. And then Kagari is going to pick up your Hornet drones again, and then you just play it again, and you got 2 bodies out onto the field. Now, if you need a little bit more, you say you need like 2 effect monsters, you could turn your Kagari into a Hayate or a Kaina, and then turn the token into one of the other 2. Then you have 2 effect monsters, and you can go off from there. Really great way to just get 2 guys out onto the field when you control no monsters in your main monster zone to help you get into a side engine. Again, something like your Fiendsmith engine, something like your Nightmare engine. Really awesome, really great. Highly recommend it. And we've talked about it enough already without actually saying what it does, is the Nightmare Mermaid engine. Nightmare Mermaid is great because you can just summon any 2 monsters, make something like Nightmare Phoenix, or, Nightmare Cerberus, which we'll go ahead and show that off. Nightmare Cerberus, depending on which one you want to play, or maybe you want to play both, so you can activate Cerberus or Phoenix's effect, and then you can immediately use that Nightmare monster to go into Nightmare Mermaid. You discard a card out of your hand, and then you summon Orcust Nightmare from your deck, and then you can go into an entire Orcust line and start playing Orcust. The only real negative to this is that you gotta play a little bit of Orcust cards in your deck in order to facilitate this. And you can really decide on how much Orcust you want to play. Maybe you just want to play Orcust Nightmare and Symbol Skeleton in your main deck along with an Orcust Crescendo. So you can use Galatea to get an Omni Negate counter trap active. The way you would do this is you would summon your Nightmare Mermaid, discard the card, summon Orcust Nightmare, link both Orcust Nightmare Mermaid and Orcust Nightmare into Galatea, the link 2, and then you would banish Orcust Nightmare from your graveyard, send the Symbol Skeleton, then use Galatea to spin the Orcust Nightmare back into your deck to set the Orcust Crescendo, and then by having a Galatea out onto the field, you can then activate Orcust Crescendo during your opponent's turn, your turn, whatever, any turn other than the turn that it was set. To negate it's an Omni Negate too, any card effect that your opponent controls. And I believe, yes, negate the activation if you do banish that card, so it negates and banishes its very strong effect, just like the Primite Lord, the Primite Drill Beam. Orcust can become a very strong engine depending on how much Orcust you're willing to dedicate to your deck. It can become this very recursive engine that helps you play a strong grind game. Dengirsu could be a card that you play in your deck as well. It when it's summoned, can just send an opponent's card from the field to the graveyard as well. Instead of sending, you can attach one of your banished Orcust monsters to it as material to help get it into the graveyard when you link this off, or it leaves the field, or it discards a material by your opponent trying to destroy something. It's protection as well. If your opponent tries to destroy any of your cards, you can just use Dengirsu to protect your cards by discarding a material. Dengirsu is great. It's great going first, great going second. Very easy to summon. You just use something like your Galatea, and then immediately overlay your Dengirsu over your Galatea. Super easy. Really awesome engine. One of my favorite engines to mess around with. Unfortunately, it is main deck inefficient these days by typical engine standards, so you don't really see it as much. On top of the fact that Nightmare Mermaid does require you to discard a card. Now that can be a positive, depending on what you're playing. Maybe you want to see something out of your hand and into the graveyard, but if this gets impermed and you just lose that card for nothing, that is very unfortunate. Very awesome engine to play. Would highly recommend it. I don't believe any other format has this card available to them. So I believe Master Duel's in a unique position to be able to play around a free 2-monster make an Orcust. Any 2 monsters make an Orcust engine combo available. So I would highly recommend investing in this engine if this engine works for you. It's basically the old man's version of the Fiendsmith engine. Now we'll talk about another engine that works well with an engine we've already talked about. Is if you have something like the Fiendsmith engine, or you play a deck that has Fiends, you can play the Unchained Yama in your deck, pair it with Unchained Soul of Shavara and Escape of the Unchained to have a pop, along with Unchained Soul of Rage, 2 monsters including an Unchained Soul monster, so maybe you use Unchained Soul Lord of Yama to make it, and you have 2 interruptions here. You can use Unchained Soul of Rage to link off one of your opponent's monsters during your opponent's turn, and then Escape of the Unchained will be a way to pop a what is it? Yes. An Unchained monster you control and one of your opponent's cards and destroy both. Really, really cool engine that you can decide to play. If you're playing like a Fiendsmith engine in your deck, you could play this as well. Or if you're playing like Yubel, if you're playing Labyrinths, this is a really cool engine to see as well. An engine that I wouldn't really recommend to just generically invest in if you're kind of just okay with your Fiendsmith engine or whatever. But, I mean, hey, maybe you would want to play this. And we'll move on to another engine where this engine can be facilitated. The Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon engine can be facilitated with Galaxy Tomahawk. If your deck plays level 7 monsters like Dark Magician, for example, or maybe your Kashtira engine, you can summon Galaxy Tomahawk, special summon a ton of tokens, then use them to make Auroradon, summon some more tokens, summon a Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion from your deck, and then just go off to the races from there and make a really, really strong board. The only problem with this is that it's a very strong choke point, and Tomahawk, if Tomahawk gets negated, then you might have, put forth a lot of resources into making Tomahawk, and then it to just get impermed is really rough. But if Tomahawk resolves, it's going to make you a strong board. You can end with Savage Dragon, Baron de Fleur, and maybe some other synchro monsters as well. It does stop you from summoning Link monsters for the rest of the turn once you activate this, but it doesn't mean that you can't make Link monsters before you do it, right? Really, really cool engine to play. Would recommend it if you're playing a lot of level 7 monsters and you just need something to help push your deck to the next level. This could be it. This could be it. I actually play it in my Primite Dark Magician deck. Now we're going to move away from the extra deck options here for a second, and we're going to move on to some of these main deck engines that I'm showing here. Nadir Servant and the other Dogmatika cards can be a great engine to add to your deck. Generically, it's just great that you can throw it in just about anything. The only problem is that you have to do your Dogmatika stuff last to play out the rest of your cards, because they're going to lock you out of the extra deck. If your deck uses a lot of the extra deck, well, you gotta use these cards last. The Dogmatika cards can be strong on their own. You can get Fleur de Lis out, which can negate a monster on the field. Quick effect. You can also use Maximus to send some extra deck monsters to the graveyard, so maybe fill your graveyard up. Your Dogmatika Punishment, which can be searched with Ecclesia, can be just a pop on the field, and then you send... what is it? I do not remember it off the top of my head. It is a fusion. I believe it is a level 4. Yes. Elder Entity Intus. When you use Punishment, you have to send a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. Its stat line will help determine what monster on the field that you can destroy with Punishment. 2500 is a great stat line to work with in Intus. It'll get rid of most monsters your opponent controls, and when Intus gets sent to the graveyard, you can then activate to destroy another card your opponent controls, so it can be a 2-for-1. Very strong. Very, very strong. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. Another thing that you can do with something like Nadir Servant is you can use it to send a Garura, if I'm saying that correctly. See if we can't find that real quick. We can send a Garura, because you got to send a monster from the extra deck to the graveyard when you use Nadir Servant. Garura will draw you a card, and then you can search out Dogmatika Maximus, banish the Garura from your graveyard to special summon Maximus, and then something cool that you can do is you can play a Shadal engine in your deck. So you can summon Shadal Winda by sending a Apgalone and another dark monster. So any dark monster from your extra deck plus Apgalone. Apgalone, when sent to the graveyard, will search you out a Schism. And then Schism, when flipped up on your opponent's turn, during the main phase, you can fusion summon a Shadal fusion monster, and you will use your graveyard to summon Shadal Winda. Shadal Winda is a floodgate that will prevent your opponent from special summoning too many times. It's going to be super annoying for your opponent. If your opponent controls a dark monster, Schism can also send it to the graveyard whenever you do summon Winda, so it can be an interruption in itself as well. You can do a decent amount with Nadir Servant. Nadir Servant and the rest of the Dogmatika cards can be an excellent inclusion in any deck. Now we're going to be moving on here. Invoked is a great engine that you can play if your deck doesn't necessarily need its normal summon and just does mainly special summons, or does it most of the time. Invoked could be an option to play in your deck. One card engine that will allow you to summon an easy Invoked Macabre. Invoked Macabre is an Omni Negate by discarding that card type from your hand to the graveyard. So if you've got a trap in your hand, your opponent activates a trap, you can negate that trap. A little bit outdated by today's standards. You know, you're having to cough up cards for the same reason that Dragoon's a little bit outdated. But still really awesome engine. You don't just have to summon Invoked Macabre. As you can see, there are a ton of other Invoked options that are based on, based on attribute. You have to have access to these attributes on your field or graveyard in order to summon these extra deck monsters. So Macabre needs a light monster. You can do that very easily by just summoning a Magistus. And Magistus needs a level 4 or lower spellcaster monster. Look at that. Alistair Invoker is a level 4 spellcaster monster. You normal summon Alistair the Invoker. Get the fusion spell card off of his search. Immediately link up into the link 1. And then you can just play the invocation spell card to fuse using your Alistair from the engrave and using your Artemis from the field. And make your invoked Macabre. A very awesome engine. One of my longtime favorites. That's why I'm including it. It's definitely been power crept these days, but definitely don't count it out. It just got an alternate art in the one of the new secret packs that got added not that long ago. So you guys should be seeing it possibly for the first time. Doesn't mean you have to go for the alternate art. It has a very affordable super rare version. We'll go back into related cards here to show you that this deck is very affordable. Invocation is a super rare. That's your fusion spell. You're really only going to be playing 2 of those. The field spell is a rare, Magical Meltdown, which searches Alistair, and Alistair is a super rare. Macabre is a super rare. None of these are ultra rares. So it's a great normal summon engine to put into your deck if you're on a budget. So let's go ahead and move on to the next engine here. Yeah, I know I'm kind of just bouncing around from the list. I'm not starting from the very first one. But I feel like it makes a little bit more sense this way. Now, this, you can play, technically, a Snake Eye engine in any deck if you're playing a Fiendsmith engine. Now, I've been playing this engine a lot lately in my Millennium Fiendsmith Snake Eye deck. Still a very strong deck. How are you doing something like this? And I could go into a little bit more depth on this in a separate video. But essentially, your Fiendsmith engine is going to allow you to very simply getting to your Fiendsmith. Let's just go related cards here. Your Fiendsmith Lacrima, which is a level 4. And then your Magistus Trozo is another level 4 that is easily summoned with the Fiendsmith engine. You use those to Xyz summon a generic rank 4 Infernal Flame Banshee, and then Infernal Flame Banshee will discard a card from it as material, and then it'll just straight up search Snake Eye Ash. So essentially, any 2 effect monsters can go into your generic Fiendsmith engine, which can go into your Flame Banshee, which then can get your Snake Eye engine online, and then get that rolling, and then it's crazy. You can play essentially a Snake Eye engine in almost any deck. It combined with the Fiendsmith engine, this takes up a massive amount of your extra deck space. The Snake Eye engine also does take up quite a bit of your main deck space as well. So this is why you don't really see it too often, but it could be an option, especially if you play a deck that gets out rank 4s pretty easily and you don't have to play the Fiendsmith engine. You can just have Infernal Flame Banshee and get into your Snake Eye engine that way. Snake Eyes are disgusting. They're extremely strong. I guess I shouldn't really have to explain it to you if you've been playing this game for any real amount of periods. Snake Eyes can do a lot. They can make some of the most disgusting boards in the game. They're very sticky, very recursive. There's a reason why there are so many Snake Eye related cards that have been hit on the ban list in some way, shape, or form, if not banned completely. But we're going to go ahead and move away from that. Another engine that you could play is you could just straight up play a Tenpai, a small Tenpai package in your deck. How could you do that? You just play something like Gold Sarcophagus. Gold Sarcophagus can play or banish. I don't have this card actually, but Blaster, Dragon Ruler of Infernos. When this card is banished, you can just add if this card is banished, you can add 1 fire dragon monster from your deck to your hand, which is all Tenpais. So if you open Gold Sarcophagus, you can get to an entire Tenpai line, and that can make your deck do really well going second. So you can play 1 engine for going first, and just have this smallish kind of side engine in your main deck to help break your opponent's boards. So when you're going second, you play all your regular stuff, all that gets negated. You use Golden Sarcophagus, banish Blaster, search your Tenpai monsters, get that going, and then just kill your opponent. Can be a really awesome side engine to play in your deck. Of course, it does require a decent amount of main deck spots and a couple of extra deck spots in order to play this engine. But it can be extremely lethal. Would highly recommend this engine if you just want your deck to kind of have options for going first and going second. Another engine that we can play here is, and we're getting down to the last, I believe, 2 engines. This one's specifically more extra deck related, but also main deck related. Depends on what you want to do here. But you can play a Zoodiac engine. Now, any deck can play a Zoodiac engine if you want to invest in Zoodiac Barrage. You play 3 Zoodiac Barrages, and then I would recommend like playing a Zoodiac Thoroughblade and like a Zoodiac Whiptail, or maybe 2 Whiptails. And then you can just use Barrage to summon it from the deck, and then one of those 2 for free. And then you can just start layering Zoodiac Xyz monsters onto your Zoodiac monster. And what this does is, going first, you can get an interactive pop, a destruction on a face-up card your opponent controls. A quick effect that's pretty nice. As well, going second, Borbo will allow you to make easy AA Zeuses for free, essentially, with a ton of material. So you'll use Barrage, summon a Zoodiac monster, go into Borbo. Borbo will allow you to just attack directly. No monster effects are being activated here for your opponent, like Appaloosa or whatever. Since you battled with an Xyz monster, you can make Zeus, and then you can just start layering all the names on top of each other. You layer your Tiger Mortar, your Hammer Kong, your Chalkanine, your Drident, and then you put Zeus on top of it, and oh my god, you have like 3 or 4 activations of Zeus on your Zeus to be able to attempt to wipe your opponent's board multiple times, because Zeus isn't a once per turn and isn't a once per chain. So you go to activate Zeus, they imperm, you just chain Zeus again to that imperm, they activate another imperm, you chain it again, you just keep doing that until you successfully essentially wipe your opponent's board. It can be a great engine for going first, for going second. A little bit of main deck engine required for it, or spots required for it, depending on how much you want the Zoodiacs to do going second. You might be using a bit more of the extra deck spots, and these days in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, extra deck slots are a bit valuable. So this is probably the main reason why you don't see techs like this, the Zoodiac engine, but still very valuable, very viable. It can go in basically any deck, and if your deck can make rank 4s, maybe you don't go for the Snake Eye way, maybe you go for the Zoodiac way, right? Because Zoodiac Chalkanine is a generic 2 level 4 monsters can make this, can Xyz summon this, and then you just slap Drident on top of it, and Drident has 3 activations. That's crazy. So very, very fun engine. One of my favorite engines that you can play in just about anything. And then the full armored engine, a little bit more specific. If you are playing a rank 3 deck or a rank 4 deck, you can easily summon full armored Dark Knight Lancer, or a rank 5 deck, I should say. So you got some options here. If your deck can put up 2 level 3s, 2 level 4s, or you're playing like the Zoodiac engine, which is a rank 4 engine, or 2 level 5s, you can easily summon your full armor Dark Knight Lancer. The way you're doing that is you're summoning Xyz Armor Fortress using either your Xyz Armor Torpedo, or you're using a rank 4 that cannot have materials or something like that. Once per turn, you can also Xyz summon Xyz Armor Fortress by using one rank 3 or 4 monster you control. Cannot be used as material for an Xyz summon while it has material. No, it can't have materials when you go for this guy. And then you detach materials from this card, up to 2, to search out full armor cards, and you'll typically search out Armored Xyz. If you've got 2, you'll search out Armored Xyz, and you'll search out full Armored Xyz. If you've only got 1, you'll just be searching out the trap, because the trap can allow you to Xyz summon on your opponent's turn. Then you can summon full armored Dark Knight Lancia with a rank 5 or 6 monster, and you can do it for free if it has like no materials or something like that. Once per turn, if an equipped card becomes equipped to a monster you control, you can attach one monster your opponent controls to this card as material. So it's a weird way to not destroy or banish your opponent's monster if they get additional effects like that. You can do this on your opponent's turn through the trap. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Xyz monster you control. Equip one other Xyz monster from your face-up field or graveyard to that monster as an equipped spell with the following effects. Equipped monster gains attack equal to this card's attack. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, destroy this card instead. So it gives it protection after the fact, and makes it big. So something you can add on top of your already playing Xyz deck. So just a little side engine that synergizes with more specific decks. But I believe that's all the engines I've got for you guys today. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Leave a comment if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already, so you get updates on any future videos that I do. I hope you guys enjoyed this informative engine video that I made today. Let me guys know of any other engines that maybe I missed or that you'd like to be included, and maybe we make a follow-up video in the future. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. This video is long enough. I'll see you guys next time. Later.